Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. After failing to appear for 2 jury trials, homie Homer brings his brothers along for his bond hearing. Did they stop and collaborate his list of excuses? You'll have to listen. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
Anton Ford. Mr. McLean, oh, jail court iPhone, there we have. Who do we have, please?
We have positions 1 and 2.
Okay.
Anderson.
All right, thank you. This is State versus Homer Anderson, accused under case 22 CR 360Y of stalking, a misdemeanor stalking charge, and criminal trespass causing damage to property. He's got a bench warrant under 24 FTA 733 from May 22nd, 2024. Mr. Homer Anderson, my name is Judge Law. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court about your cases, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Presently, your counsel is going to be Mr. Michael McLean. Mr. McLean has indicated that you intend to file a not guilty plea to the stalking and trespass charges, and he will be filing a waiver of arraignment, and your cases are going to be further noticed for trial. In the meantime, we're going to address your bond. I understand there is currently a surety bond for your bench warrant matter. And Mr. McLean, your client has been advised of his rights. How would you like to proceed with his bond? He currently has a dormant bond issued by Judge Edie from failure to appear for his jury trial on May 3rd, 2024. And I guess his bond was surrendered by Atlantic Bail Bonding. So he is currently in jail on a $45,000 bond. I guess he's got other felony matters also. So let's see. On our particular case, he's got a $5,000 surety bond that's been surrendered. And I guess the other matters apply to, and a $10,000 bond on the criminal trespass causing damage to property. So it's a $15,000 surety bond, and I guess the remainder 30,000 with a felony matter. Yes, Ms. McLean, I'm sorry, sir, you're on mute. Ms. Tyson, may we have his GCIC before we proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. With 14 arrest cycles beginning in 2006, within the last 10 years, he has a felony case out of DeKalb County for battery, family violence, subsequent conviction, or prior forcible felony. Disposition date on that case is January 21st of 2020. He received first offender treatment on that case. And he was sentenced to probation for 4 years and 9 months. His last arrest was in DeKalb County, May 22nd of 2022, and that was for a violation of probation. He has 1 arrest cycle out of the state of Texas from 2013, and that looks like that was for a, failure to ID, giving false info, and that resulted in a misdemeanor conviction in 2013. He does have, 2 pending felony cases. First case is 24 PI 004125, and that's for aggravated stalking. And the second case is for aggravated stalking as well. Case number is 24 PI 004126. Nothing to add, Your Honor.
All right. 4126, okay. And I misspoke. The failure to appear for this bench warrant that we have appears to be a $7,500 cash bond. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Yes, Mr. McLean.
All right, Your Honor, here's the situation. These aggravated stalking felony charges are going to be handled in Superior Court. He says it's not related. This is a dispute he has with his father about the right to control property of his deceased grandmother. And he says, you know, this is between me and my dad, and he has me arrested every time he sees me on camera, but I have the right to be on the property. And they're going to resolve all that with property law and with intestate or testate succession, and they're going to figure all that out. But on the misdemeanor 3 lines, the middle of his booking sheet, we see that $7,500 cash bond, $5,000 surety bond, and $2,500 surety bond. Your Honor, this is a case from, well, it's a 22 CR case, and the date is 2021. And he's asking the court to consider lowering the $7,500 cash bond and the $5,000 and the $2,500 surety bond to something that is more reasonable given the charges and the circumstances. He does acknowledge what his record is. He understands that. He's saying, you know, this felony stuff, no, that's just me and my dad talking about property. So we would ask the court to consider a $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 in that range, if possible, no more than $5,000 total surety bond on those 3 lines. Because, you know, when you have a $7,500 cash bond, that's really kind of the equivalent of a $70,000 bond.
Understood. Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, obviously the state would object to any reduction in bond. Considering the Ayala factors, Mr. Anderson has shown a propensity to reoffend. You heard pretrial talk about his record. He has several family violence charges. He also has several stalking. I'm showing that he has no bond set, at least when I checked this morning, on the second ag stalking. At this point, I think a cash bond is absolutely appropriate. He failed to appear for a jury trial, and there's a note in Odyssey that says that jurors were actually there. And I believe he also may have failed to appear at a previous jury trial calendar in 2023. In this case, Judge, he's accused of basically his ex-girlfriend, Miss Lyons. She called the police because she broke up with him and he wouldn't leave her alone. She said she dumped him a month ago. He slashed all 4 of her tires when she was at a hotel. He threatened to beat and kill her children. She found a tracking device. And then to hear that he has these other aggravated stalking charges, this is extremely concerning and clearly a strong risk of reoffense. And he's not showing up to court. So at this point, he's also a flight risk. So the state would object to any reduction in bond in this case.
All right.
I believe there may be some other people on. Elijah Anderson.
I am trying to, all right. Mr. Jordan, I don't know if you can prompt these individuals to now start their video and unmute. Okay, Elijah Anderson, if you want to speak, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do.
All right. Mr. Elijah Anderson, how do you know Homer Anderson?
He's my brother, Your Honor.
All right. And do you reside at the location, J Place?
No, ma'am, I don't. That's
Okay.
that's Homer's address, my older brother's address.
Okay. Is that also where your parents live?
No, ma'am, it's my grandfather's house. My grandfather passed 17 years ago. My dad wrongfully, illegally took the rights to that house. And he's already been ordered by 2 judges to take his name off the deed. He's currently in contempt of court right now. My uncle just filed a contempt of court because he still hasn't removed his name from that deed. So he's about to be served at any day now. My brother currently lives there. And my brother has been out. He hasn't spoken 1 word or even seen my father since he's been out of jail. He works 6 days a week. He supports his nieces and nephews. I've seen a complete 180 in his behavior.
When was the probate order requiring your grandfather or your father remove the name from the deed?
My uncle has the paperwork.
Okay, if you don't have the paperwork, then all right, then I don't have any information. All right. Anything else, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, ma'am. And I thank you for allowing me to speak on his behalf. When he did have the failure to appear in May of last year, his lawyer reached out to me the day of his court date. My brother was at work because he worked 6 days a week. He said that he couldn't get in touch with my brother. I called my brother on three-way. He told my brother that he had a court date within an hour. My brother got off work and went to court. I believe the judge was named Judge Edie. My brother went to Judge Eddington courtroom. They were similar names. And he sat there for 3 hours in the wrong courtroom. So he appeared for court. And like I said, he worked 6 days a week. He's had no contact with my father, either verbally or physically in his presence at all since he's been out of jail. So he's completely changed his life around. I wish I had that paperwork to show that my father has no rights to that house. But if you look at my
Oh,
brother's
no, you
license,
know what? I made a mistake. I was not supposed to be talking about your father's house. That's for Superior Court to decide. So please disregard, because I have multiple warrants open for Homer Anderson, and I accidentally read it about, I'm talking about Centuria Alliance. So do you know, so you don't know anything about other than the fact that he showed up but sat in the wrong courtroom. Is that correct?
yes, ma'am. He showed
Okay.
up. He showed up on time, and he sat in the wrong courtroom. The names were similar. He emailed the court.
I'm sorry,
He,
whose case was he in? Whose
he,
court?
I believe the judge's name was Judge Edie or Eddington. They had similar names. But he sat in the wrong courtroom for 3 hours.
Okay.
And they let him know eventually that he was in the wrong courtroom. And so he went to court that day. He just sat in the wrong courtroom. He got off of work and went directly to court. His lawyer told him at the last minute.
What's the lawyer's name?
What's his name? I have it in my phone. Let me pull it up.
Okay. All right. While you are pulling that up,
His name is
Joshua,
Shannon Rinder.
yeah. Okay, Miss
Shannon
Stephanie
Rinder.
Driver.
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am.
What's the
Shannon
lawyer's
Rinder
name?
was Shannon Rinder.
Shannon Render. Okay.
That's his judge's name, Your Honor. I mean
Shannon Render?
his lawyer's name, Shannon Render.
And what's the judge? Okay, that's fine. Anything else, Mr. Elijah Anderson?
No, ma'am, Your Honor. I just wanted to speak on behalf of his character, Your Honor. He got in a lot of trouble when he was younger, but in these later years, Your Honor, he's done nothing at all to anyone in my family. To my father is an abusive man.
No, I'm not talking about the family. We're not talking about the family. We're not talking about the family home. That's a Superior Court matter. It was my
Okay.
mistake bringing it up because I just had so many warrants sitting on my screen for Mr. Homer Anderson. I accidentally read the wrong one. I'm talking about Isha, what's this young lady's name? Centuria Lyons, excuse me, Centuria Lyons.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that?
I just know that he appeared to court. He appeared to court late, and
Okay.
he appeared in the wrong courtroom.
Okay.
I don't know
It doesn't say on this. It doesn't say in the file notes for this case, but I'll take that into consideration. Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Elijah.
Thank you.
Miss Stephanie Driver, could you please pick up your phone and put it in front of you? Thank you. All right. And what would you like? And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm? Raise your right hand.
Oh, sorry. I was raising my right hand.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. And what would you like to tell us about Homer Anderson?
I have been dating Homer Anderson almost 3 years, and in the 3 years that I have, the behavior that is described in this case does not describe him. He has never raised his voice at me. He's never threatened me, and it's.
Do you know why he didn't show up in court?
Yes, I do. The attorney did not communicate. We tried multiple times to get information from the attorney, and we would not get a lot of response. And the day he never communicated with me, because I hired the attorney, he never communicated with me the court dates. We always constantly needed to ask for information. We tried to ask for discovery. What does he have? What did she have against him to prove the allegations that she had set forth?
and we never got any information. He did show up to court. He had a video recording of him talking to the person to try to figure out what courtroom he needed to be in.
Okay. And Mr. Joshua Anderson. If you'd like to unmute.
Yes, can you hear me? How you doing, Judge?
Yeah, very good. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, what would you like to tell us?
In regards to that case, the allegations are completely false. I'm 100% positive there's no proof to those allegations. She knew that what my brother was going through, with his cases, and it's, those threats from her, or I'm gonna put these charges on you, were everyday thing. With court, his attorney, there was a small dispute over a payment. My brother made his first payment, then he made a second payment. All right, the attorney, there was kind of a small dispute, which is why he called my brother an hour before court. My brother was at work. I remember he got off work I could tell you he was in, start with a D, Griffin, Georgia. He was in Griffin, Georgia at the time. Got off work, got to the courthouse, sat there just only to find out who was in the wrong courtroom. But the young lady, she's not part of the family, she's just a temporary, woman that he dealt with. But those allegations, it's easy to file those on someone that has a record. But there's no proof of any of that. Slashing tires, none of that is true. He has too much to lose to do something like that, especially with work, and bills and everything else. But the court, his attorney definitely called him an hour before court. And he's been waiting on information on that court date for weeks. And to get a call an hour before, he had to rush off of work, and that kind of hindered him from appearing.
All right, thank you. Mr. McLean, I'm sorry, not Mr. McLean, Ms. Desiano.
Your Honor, all I'll say is a lot of these explanations don't make a lot of sense to me. If he was sitting in the wrong courtroom and then eventually appeared in the correct courtroom, then a bench warrant probably wouldn't have issued. Also, it looks like from Odyssey, that he had a jury trial scheduled in September that he failed to appear at, and then he's now failing to appear at the one in May. I believe this case was reset to May because of his failure to appear in September. So this idea that he didn't know about it and all of that, it just doesn't add up. And I imagine there was some sort of conversation in September saying, okay, well, this time you won't get in trouble, but you need to show up at your next court date. And then he didn't. So here we are. And these are the consequences of not showing up to court. And, pretrial is very clear. When you have a bond, if you don't show up to court, it converts to a surety or a cash bond. So, that's exactly what happened. And now he's begging for mercy. And, I don't know how many more opportunities we need to give this individual, quite frankly.
No. All right, Mr. McLean, you have the last word.
Does sound plausible because we do have two judges who start sort of with ED. We got Judge Edie and Judge Edline, so maybe that was the courtroom he was in.
And if he was sitting in Judge Edline's courtroom with people and staff and case managers, or was he sitting in a sitting quietly in an empty courtroom? I don't know what's the setting, but clearly at some point, someone in Judge Edline's staff would have noticed that there's someone sitting in the courtroom who has not been addressed.
Well, oftentimes we do have a full courtroom for, say, a P&A or something like that. And people get to, they get to people like 2 or 3 hours into the court session.
And then we ask them, who are you and why are you here? And if they say, I'm here for a jury trial and I've been sitting here for 3 hours, someone in that courtroom will contact the division judge and say, oh, by the way, the defendant whom you've been waiting for it's been sitting in this courtroom in order to avoid a bench warrant. So my question is, after sitting there for 3 hours, what consequently happened?
I don't know, Your Honor, but it sounds like maybe exactly what you said happened, that somebody got over the other courtroom and they were done for the day. Who knows?
No, I don't think that would have been an issue. But other than that, Mr. Homer Anderson, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. If you want to, Mr. McLean, your client wants to say something, what would you like to do?
Yeah,
He could talk about, that going to court, that's fine.
clear it up. I want to clear it up, Your Honor. September is when I missed the original date trial. That's when my attorney let me know on the day of when I was down in Griffin, Georgia working. Once I came to the courthouse, I asked the guard I asked the CO in the courthouse, which way is Judge Edie's courtroom? He told me 5C. I went to the 5th floor courtroom C. When I got there, the courtroom was empty. I spoke to someone on the through an intercom that was on the wall of the courthouse. I recorded the whole thing, and I let him know I was supposed to be in here for court today, and he informed me that he gave me my case number, and he told me to. He gave me my case manager number and told my attorney to contact my case manager, and that he didn't see me on the calendar.
And this was in September of 2023.
It was September. I had no knowledge of
Okay,
the.
stop. So in September of 2023, apparently you did not show, you went to the wrong place and you were told to contact your attorney. All right. Tell me what happened in May of 2024.
I knew nothing about it. Simple that, Your Honor. I knew nothing about it. Other than
You
that,
had
I
a
would have.
trial scheduled on May 22nd, 2024.
I had no counsel to even to at the time. At that point in time, I had no counsel.
So what happened to your counsel at that time?
He quit, Your Honor.
When did he quit?
When I back in September of last year.
Okay, so in September of 2023, your attorney withdrew from representation. Who did you hire or who did you have represent you after that?
No one.
And how were notices sent to? And the only address we have on file for Homer Anderson is a place that you've been apparently not allowed to go to.
Correct.
Okay, so since then, have you updated your address with the court?
That's my address, Your Honor.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
since you could not go to that place because of a court order, did you provide the court with an alternative address so you could be contacted?
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay, all right. And that was your stumbling problem. Even though you claim an address that is right now a point of contention in other cases, you were still required to update the court with a proper address so that you would show up for trial. And since it's a place that you could not receive mail, it was your obligation to do so. This is your second failure to appear, and I'm not going to modify the bond until Judge Fred Edie. Now, please don't forget your judge's name from this point onwards. His first name is Fred. His last name is Edie, E-A-D-Y. If you are going to use the Public Defender's Office as your counsel from this point onwards, it is your responsibility to keep in touch with the office and make sure that you keep up with all your notices. It is also your responsibility to provide a valid address where you receive mail with the clerk's office. But currently, given all the circumstances that you provided, it appears that the reason you didn't receive mail was because you didn't follow up with a change of address after you knew that your attorney had withdrawn from the case. The request for bond modification is denied. This case is further notice for trial. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get hold of the trial attorney in Judge Edie's courtroom and give a heads up.
Thank you.